I'm going to create a little example of a temperature converter. This can be found in the Vogela tutorials. The URL will show up in your screen. But basically this does is there's a text field. There's a text field in which you enter the temperature. So for example, I don't know, 45 degrees. So that was a 4 or 5 right there. Let's see if this does it. 45 degrees, and then you want to convert, this is Fahrenheit for example, and I want to convert it to Celsius, so I click on the 2 Celsius and then click convert, and that's 7.2 Celsius. Now if I want to convert that back to Fahrenheit, I say convert, and that is 45 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a very simple app. That's all it does. It'll be your first Android app. So I assume you'll have everything installed in Eclipse. Let's see, just so we have more viewing area here. I have this ready here, but I'm going to start from scratch. So what we do first is we right click, we do a new Android project, which is not here, so I have to go to other and then say Android application project. Okay, next. And then the basic Android, I'll fill in the forms, and then the basic Android setup will be created. So my application is going to be temp convert. That's what it's going to be called. The package name is going to be this. That's fine. What Android platform am I going to build it for? For this one, that's fine. Minimum required SDK, whatever I have. This is for the latest Android. If you want to do it for your for say a phone, you might want to change it to 2.3, which is what current phones are using, or 4.03 if you have a tablet that you want to try this on, and stuff like that. All right, so let's say next. Now it's going to configure the launcher icon. Okay, we just get the defaults, that's fine. These are the icons. We could go with an image, we could go with a clip art, choose a different one. How about temperature converter that looks like a Android robot to me? Okay, and that's the thing, and then the color is going to be the foreground color. I'm going to set it to say red. And that's going to be my icon. Next. Now, I'll create an activity. There are several types of applications that use several types of activity. I'm just going to start with a blank activity. I'll say next, and then this will create all the structure for me. Just say next here. What's going to be my main class, the class that starts this all? I'm going to just call it temp code that are called in Android. And I'll click next. So I'll call it temp convert activity, and then I'll click next. The computer's running a little slow, pardon that. This template depends on the Android support library, which is either not installed or template available in recent versions. Okay. Let's check again. Okay, I click finish. I installed this. I click finish. Okay, and I have created. So I have created this temp convert. In here, there are several directories. I'm going to go to the rest directory, the resource directory, and I'll go to layout activity temp converter. That's the main activity here. Okay, and I'm going to add a text field, the radio buttons that you saw, and the button. Okay. So I'm here in the layout, temp convert. There's a little tag there that says hello world. I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm going to start putting stuff, right? So text fields. I'll have I just want numbers, so a number, there you go. I'll drag this over here and put it up on top. Then I'll drag the radio buttons, which is part of the form widgets. So I'll drag radio button 1. Here I am aligning things. Right there. Radio button 1. That radio button, if I right click on it, I can edit the text. And it's going to say something, right? So I can type the text here to see what it's going to say. I can type the text here to see what it's going to say. Or I can create a text that's going to be a constant, okay? It's going to be a constant here. So let's do that. Let's create first all the text that I need, and then we'll finish the layout. So I'm going to go here to my resources, values, strings.xml. I double click here. I will add a new string. Yeah, I'll add a new string. The name of it is going to be to Celsius, and the value is going to say actually the words to Celsius. If I wanted to do this, if I wanted to do this in a multilingual fashion, I could always just change this value, and everything should work fine. You'll see how this works. I'm going to add another one, another string, right? And the name of it's going to be to Fahrenheit, and the text is going to be to Fahrenheit. I can also add these in the XML. I clicked on the strings XML, the XML part of it, and I can just add more strings this way, which I find it easier. So for example, for the button, I'll just say button text will be convert, right? So I've added another string, and I save this file. So these are my resources. Now let's go back to the activity temp converter. Here in the radio button, I can right click and I say edit text, and all my strings appear here. This is going to be to Celsius, right? Then I can add another button here, another radio button. Okay. That it's going to I can also add the edit text, right, and say to Fahrenheit. Now, yeah, so I have two radio buttons, and then I can have the button here. The button, and this will say, this button will have, I can also do this in the XML. So I'm going to go here. I'll see that there's a radio button, and then there's a button, right? And the text here, it says button. The text, I can say it's going to be ampersand plus ampersand string, and then if Eclipse helps me, I can pick the button, and the button will say convert. Where is that convert button? Button text. That's going to say convert in there, okay, because that's what we had. Okay, so let's go back to our graphical layout, and this is our application. Now, what we're going to do is in our application, there's a source directory of source package which we define, and then the main activity, which is what we had said the activity would be. Just close that. The activity, and then there's this onCreate method. This onCreate method will put whatever, will do the initialization of everything. So we just leave all of it there, but then we add some more. We're going to add for this activity class, we're going to just add a private edit text member, edit text. We're going to call it temp text. That's where we're going to establish a link between the Java class and the layout XML file. And the edit box, I'm going to have it linked to this temp text edit field. The way I do that is then I go to the onCreate and I will say temp text equals, and then the way I get it from there is first I cast it to edit text, and then I'll get this object with a method called find view by ID, and then my ID is going to be r.id dot, and then the edit text, which I don't see here yet. Let's see, r dot ID. Oh, here. How about r dot layout dot activity temp convert dot. No, that's not the layout that I want. R dot if you don't know what your R file does, you can see it here, R. Where's the text? It's not updated yet. ID edit text 1, okay. So what I'm going to say is r.id dot edit text 1. That is the ID that was given to this project by my XML file in the activity in the layout, right? So this is my graphical layout. If I go back to this and I see where the edit text is, the ID is ID, the way you do this in the R file is ID dot this identification. Okay. Right now it's marking a syntax error, but at some point this will update and it will work fine. Let me see if I can clean and redo. That sometimes does it. Alright, next. This is the way I establish a link between the edit text in my layout and my variable temp text over here. And then I can use it later. At some point this error will go away. Let's look at the next thing that I want to do. In here, in my layout, I want to add an action to this button when this button is pressed. So I'm going to right click on it, okay, and I'm going to add a click handler. And the click handler, you just go to all properties by name and you find it clickable, no. You find an onClick event, right? So go by all parameters by name and look for onClick. onClick. Now, the onClick here, it's going to say, did I actually do that? All by name, onClick. onClick. Click on onClick. Now, what is the function, the method that's going to be called when I click this? Okay, I'm just going to say my click handler. So this is an event handler, my click handler. And you can see the XML so far. It's looking like this. I'll just save it. And here's my button. And this is the onClick. This is the function that's going to be called. Okay, let's go back here. See, edit one text already is resolved. The R file was updated. Now what I want to code is that handler here, okay? So within this class, I'm just going to say public void myClick handler, okay? View. That is the signature for the onClick method. And view is basically an Android view. And view in Android means any controls. So what we're going to do is, well, let's see if this click handler came from the button. So you can say switch view.getID, right? And if that is case r.id.button1, so in case it was the button that was pressed, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two handlers now. I'm going to see which radio button was clicked. So I'm going to say radio button, did I get the class right? Radio button, Celsius button equals casted radio button, and then find view by ID. My ID is r.id. And then the radio button was radio button 1. That was the Celsius one. Okay. You can change these IDs in the XML file. I'm going to create a handle to the other one. Radio button Fahrenheit button, radio button, find view by ID, r.id. Radio button 2. So now I have two objects that are connected to to the actual objects in the layout. Look at the connections. I have text, the text that I've linked it to the text field in the connection, and I have a radio button 1, a radio button 2 that are linked to radio button 1 and radio button 2 in the layout. So now I can read the input and put stuff over there. So what I'll say is, you know, if text get text gets if this is not text, is temp text dot get text get text. Okay, fine. Get text dot length is 0. So basically, if nothing was there, if somebody just push convert without any values, I'm gonna toast, which is display a little alert window, make text, and then what I'm gonna say is I need the context, which is gonna be this context, this activity also indicates a context, and the text will be please enter a valid number. And then the duration, there are durations here that are preset. So one duration is toast dot length short. So it's a short, it's a long toast. Let's do long toast. And then we've made the text, and then we say show. So this will actually, you know, show up a little window, then return. What we just did here, again, what we've said is if there's no text entered, then I'm going to display a window that says please enter a valid number. Okay? Now, if there is something in the text, I'm going to check which radio button was clicked. So else. You know what? I'm going to do something further. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a temporary variable, float temperature, and that will be float parse float, and then temp text dot get text. Right. So I'm going to convert the I'm going to convert the text to a float. Okay, I'm not catching exceptions here. I'll just assume there's a number, and then I'll say if the Celsius button is checked. Okay, if the Celsius button is checked, then what I'll do is I'll say the temp text will be set to the if the Celsius button is checked, then I'm going to convert that text to Celsius, right? So the temp text set text, and then the text that I will put there will be value of. So I'm going to put the string for this number for a function that's called convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, that's my function, and then the parameter passed to this function is going to be the temperature. Conversely, if the other radio button is clicked, then I'm going to say temp text set text string value off. I need to do the string value off because I want a string with this. And then I'll say convert Celsius to Fahrenheit temp, right? So I really don't need these at all. So if Celsius button is checked, then do this. If not, meaning the other button is checked, then convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, and then yeah, that's good. So then the next thing that I want to do, well, I want to break. That's remember I'm in a case switch case scenario here. So I'll break, and then what I want to do here is create these methods, convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius and the other one. So I'm just going to say here break. I'll create these methods, private float convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, float T for temperature, and this is Fahrenheit to Celsius is just this. It's just the temperature minus 32. It's temperature minus 32 times 5/9. Okay, that's what we'll return, and it's a float. So this will all be floats. Just to be sure, I can do this. That still works. And then the other method is private float convert Celsius to Fahrenheit, float temperature, and this will return, and then the inverse of that. So is temperature times 9 divided by 5 plus 32. Okay, so this returns that. Now, why do I have red here? Oh, these are doubles. I'm sorry. 5 and 9. All right. So this is the whole class, right? I've created an activity. I'm using. I created a link to the text in the layout. I've created a link to the radio buttons, and then depending on which one is checked, if there's nothing entered, then I display a toast. But if something's entered, then I check the radio buttons, right? This one or the other one. So let's try and run this in our emulator. Run as Android application, and we'll have it running in a while. This usually takes a long time the first time you want to run stuff. Hello? Now it starts the temperature converter, where I put my temperature, for example, 45 degrees. And then I put 45 degrees. Now I'm going to convert this to Celsius, convert. So that's 7.2 Celsius if this was in Fahrenheit. And then if I click on Fahrenheit, it checks, oh, I forgot to uncheck the other one. That was a little mistake. So when I check on Celsius and I hit convert, I should uncheck Celsius and check to Fahrenheit, right? So I should switch those two. So I'll do this by going into my code and saying when Celsius button is checked, temperature set text, and then I will say Celsius button, and then I'll set checked, and I can do this false, for example, right? You can do this for the other button too. I just want to show how this works. It's going to run as an Android application. Let me stop this application here, just to be on the safe side. Back, there you go. It's stopped. Now I'm going to run as an Android application. It should use the same emulator. It's launching it in the simple phone emulator. Okay. And then it should come up anytime now. So the temperature, I'm going to enter 45, which is what I was using, and I'm going to say to Celsius, convert. That is 7.2, and notice how to Celsius now is not checked, so I can convert this back to Fahrenheit, 45, and that's not unchecked because I haven't set that. But that's basically the converter. If you have trouble launching the emulator and all that, just be mindful that this video has been edited. I had tons of trouble launching the emulator. It's just, you know, repeating it and adding memory to the SD card helps in your AVD. Read blogs and forums. This emulator is flaky at best. But when it works, you know, it keeps on working for quite a while. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Bye.